Hello, everyone. We are Team Happy Students, and our project is on considering neighborhood facilitation of social interactions and entertaining guests in one's home as correlates of happiness in 10 major cities. I'm Cassidy.
I'm Abe.
Liam.
David.
And Abe will get us started with the introduction.
Hello, everybody. We had a very interesting research study today, and there's a lot of findings. We looked at a lot of different studies on happiness and how that interacts with social interaction and relationships. So one of the first studies we found was talking about how it looked at many different factors for happiness, and it found that social interaction is a key factor in predicting social happiness of people. A big factor, social connection and interaction. Another study looked at how a decrease in social interaction leads to a decrease in levels of happiness. And this is found through the effect of institutions. Institutions are things that allow social interaction to happen. So if there's a lack of institutions, lack of trust in institutions, people's social interaction will decrease, as well as their levels of happiness. And this is where we are looking in our research presentation with neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are a sort of institution that allow people to interact with each other in ways that promotes social happiness. It promotes happiness. So we're predicting that increased levels of neighborhood amenities and will lead to increased social interaction as well as increased levels of happiness. So that's our hypothesis. We're looking at that overall trend, and we're also predicting that the most city with the most social interaction with neighborhood facilitation has the highest levels of happiness. With that said, I'll let Liam start talking about the nitty gritty in the method section.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot, Abe. The data we used was from a 2006 survey titled Assessing Happiness and Competitiveness of World Metropolises. So that looked at over 10,000 participants, about 1,000 in each of the following cities: Seoul, New York City, Toronto, London, Paris, Berlin, Milan, Tokyo, Beijing, and Stockholm. And although Milan had just 14 more participants than the other groups, I think this is a very well-rounded database. And something, we've covered this in this class, that happiness varies quite a bit across cultural and demographic lines, quite a bit. We utilized SPSS to look at the following three variables: neighborhood facilitation of social interaction, frequency of entertaining guests in one's home, and we compared those two variables to the reported happiness levels. We looked at it city by city, and we did find that the city with the highest levels of social interaction also had the highest levels of happiness. Once we had the data in SPSS, we ran an ANOVA, Turkey's honestly significant difference, as a post hoc analysis. And I'm going to pass it on to my colleague David now, who's going to discuss the results of that.
Thank you, Liam. Using our ANOVA, we found that both of our measures of social interaction were statistically significantly related to happiness levels, and our R-squared showed us that 6.7% of the variation in happiness was due to those two factors. So the other 93% was likely due to other factors that were measured on the survey, but that we did not consider. Our post hoc analysis showed us that each of the levels of entertaining guests in one's home, as well as neighborhood facilitations of social interaction, except for the lowest levels of neighborhood facilitation of social interaction, were statistically significantly related to happiness levels. So you can see that on both of our graphs. On the top graph, the x-axis is frequencies of entertaining guests in one's home, and the y-axis is happiness levels. On the lower graph, the y-axis is happiness levels, and the x-axis is neighborhood facilitation of social interaction. And important to note for both of those graphs is that lower levels of all of the factors of entertaining guests, neighborhood facilitation, and happiness are actually higher levels. So ones meaning like strongly agree or very happy. But you can see for both of our measures that as the measure went up, so did happiness levels. And then as we considered this by city, we found that Stockholm had the most happy people, and they also happened to be the city with the highest neighborhood facilitation of social interaction. They did not, though, have the highest frequency of entertaining guests in one's home. And Cassidy can talk more about what that meant. And then I also just wanted to point out that responses of 2 were the most common across the board for the 10,000 respondents. And like an entire 47% of respondents indicated that they were somewhat happy at the time of taking the survey. So those are our results, and Cassidy will talk about our conclusions.
So the data here suggests that social interaction with friends and relatives not only contributes to individual happiness levels, but is a key factor in maintaining overall happiness across a lifetime. This provides significant support for social interaction theory being a large part of happiness. The happiness levels were highest in areas where frequent social interaction was encouraged and easily available. Looking at Stockholm, the neighborhood facilitation of said social interactions might be more dominant over happiness levels than our other measure of happiness. If you want to learn more about the data here, you can look at our references at the bottom. And thanks for watching, guys.